Hi, everybody. It's Pam again, secondary math TOSA at the district office. And this time I want to go through the Algebra 2 lesson that we viewed earlier. And I want to share with you my thinking process and name the culturally responsive practice strategies that I planned into the lesson. So first, I want to show you what the lesson looked like in illustrative math. This is the student-facing tasks for that lesson in our adopted curriculum. So the lesson started out with a notice and wonder routine, which I love. It's a routine that gives all kids entry points. There's no wrong answers. It just is very open-ended and gets kids thinking about lots of different things. The lesson also had kids making a table and with the paper cutting activity. So I kept this part of the lesson. And it also had kids graphing. And then the last part of the lesson had students looking for patterns in sequences and finding missing numbers in sequences. What I thought was missing from this lesson, though, was if I'm sitting in a class as a high school student and I'm looking at these tasks, my first thought was, well, why should I care about this? I mean, sure, they're patterns and I might think they're interesting, but I think many kids will look at this and say, who cares? So that was my first thinking in terms of how I might use culturally responsive teaching to get kids engaged in this lesson. So the first macro instructional strategy is Ignite and has to do with getting the brain's attention. So I wanted to make the lesson something that was personal and have some relevance in their own lives. So that's when I went looking for something local. Again, I found the article in the Columbian about the population. Knowing that population generally is a geometric sequence and is exponential growth, I thought that might be something that I could find something on. So I found the article and thought that if I had students brainstorm about how population growth impacts them personally, that they would invest more in the lesson. I also, in the Ignite phase, included an opportunity for every student to talk about their own thinking. And again, there's no wrong answers about what they think and how population growth might impact them personally. So that's the Ignite stage. Then the chunk stage is when you simplify things to make the learning more manageable. So that whole idea that mathematicians simplify problems and use models that help them make sense out of things was something that was pretty easy to connect to the paper cutting activity. So that was my application of the chunk phase to make the content digestible using a concrete model that directly connected to the context that I gave them in the Ignite stage. Then in the Chew stage, so things I'm asking them to do in that stage are to represent the problem multiple ways. So they had to create a table and a graph and make connections between those. And then also noticing patterns and describe those patterns to others. So again, relationships and being able to actually make sense out of those as they're gathering data is what students are doing during work time. And last, the review stage is when students have a chance to apply their learning. So I wanted to make sure that we circle back to that population question and thinking about how fast Vancouver is growing. So again, putting numbers in front of them that are similar to, the illustrative math lesson had them finding patterns and finding missing numbers. So I created a similar task with the population of Vancouver over the next couple of years and asking them to make a prediction for the year 2025. Again, the idea there, also giving them a chance to talk about strategies that they use to find patterns and then applying what they've learned to a real life problem. Again, I also, on the left-hand side of my planning sheet here, I always think in terms of the workshop model. So for me, it was also helpful to think about those Zaretta Hammond's instructional strategies in terms of how they fit into workshop. So I thought of the Ignite stage as an opening structure. The chunking is just a really quick mini lesson about how this connects to the task for the day. And then, of course, the bulk of the time for students is spent during work time. And then, of course, an opportunity to zip up the cognitive backpack in the debrief and by doing an exit ticket.